Hey, Arkansas CTE students. My name is Matthew Moybon. I'm the co-founder of a company called 220. We create online courses to help students succeed in the real world. And today, I'm very excited to talk to you about why all of your goals should be unrealistic goals. And to explain this concept, why it's so meaningful for us, and how it's helped so many students change the way they think about their life and their goals, I'm going to start back in high school when Joseph, my brother and co-founder, and I had the unrealistic goal of becoming full-time entrepreneurs. And the reason we call it unrealistic was back then we knew we were super excited about it, but most people, when we told them we wanted to be entrepreneurs, basically said, yeah, that's nice, but entrepreneurship is really hard, and you basically need to focus on what's right in front of you right now, which is what everyone else is doing. We want you to focus on getting a high-paying, safe job right after school so that you can support yourself, move out of your parents' basement, whether that's going to college and graduating and getting a job, or if it was getting a certification right out of high school and getting a job. That's not what we really wanted to hear, but because it's what we were basically told, that this was a really hard, challenging, impossible, maybe unrealistic goal, we followed the traditional path. We went to college, graduated from the business school, got great jobs in banking and consulting. We're making great money, but what we realized when we got there, and after a few years in the corporate world, was that wasn't for us. We still felt a huge hole and something that hadn't been explored for us, which was the huge passion and goal of becoming entrepreneurs. And what we realized was these invisible scripts we were following, we wanted to change that path for students. We wanted to give them an alternative, and instead of having it be something they work on outside of the classes and programs they're already involved in, give them the resources and tools we wish we would have had so they could create their own path now and start working towards that future and not do what we ultimately had to do, which was delay our dreams. And fast forward to 2015, we left those jobs to start the company. It was a rough journey. We did not know what we were getting into. We could have asked for a lot more help. We could have had a way better plan. What we thought we were leading to do for 220 ended up being completely different than what 220 is now. We didn't pay ourselves for the first year and a half. Joseph had to drive Uber for a little bit to make ends meet. And we had so few customers and traction, and so little traction that first year and a half to 2 years. But fast forward to 2021, we had our best year ever last year in 2020. Our company's doing better than it ever has. We have a full suite of online courses that have allowed us to work with organizations and students all over the country. How did we get here? How did we get to this point where we're absolutely doing what we love, even though it was something that everyone told us was going to be really hard and challenging, basically discouraged us from doing it altogether, if not telling us we had to wait a long time to do it? What's this concept of actually going after and setting unrealistic goals? The problem is, for most people, unrealistic is a synonym for impossible. So if someone tells you that's unrealistic, they're probably saying that's impossible, or at least they're saying that's going to be really hard, or very few people get to do that, or I've never seen anybody do that. And we can even tell ourselves these things where we get excited or dream about something, and we just ultimately tell ourselves, that'd be nice, but I don't have that skill set, or that's not for me, or I don't know anyone in that field, or that's just seems like such a hard road. There's so much out of my control. That's probably unrealistic. The way that we want you to think about unrealistic, though, is the way that we're presenting this. And one of the ways we first came across conceptualizing this concept of setting unrealistic goals was from Will Smith, who says that being realistic, the opposite of unrealistic, being realistic is the most commonly traveled road to mediocrity. Why would you be realistic? What's the point of being realistic? So what's happening here? Well, Will Smith is actually flipping this concept on its head and saying that unrealistic doesn't mean that it's impossible. realistic goals, the opposite, is actually you just conforming to what everyone else wants you to do, because society wants to be able to put you in a box and neatly organize you, and that way they can help you get to at least a bare minimum job, right? With the salary where you're able to make ends meet, hopefully, and whether you're doing something you love or not isn't necessarily a high priority. Maximizing your gifts and your strengths, because we as a society tend to focus on realistic goals. But what Will Smith is saying is unrealistic goals are absolutely achievable. You just have to believe it's possible. He goes on to provide examples of how back in the day, somebody would have called electricity, flipping on a switch and lights coming on in a room, unrealistic. But fortunately, Thomas Edison didn't think so, and back then, it used to just be candles, or you had to wait until the sun was up. If it was night, you weren't able to do anything. So at one point, that was unrealistic. Now we don't even think about it. Same thing with bending a piece of metal and flying over an ocean in that metal. That seems really unrealistic to a person who has only ever traveled by or seen a boat as the only means of transportation for crossing the ocean. But fortunately, the Wright brothers didn't believe that, and now you wouldn't even think twice about taking a plane to go to Europe. You would much rather do that than take a boat because it's so much faster. It's been proven to be so safe. But at one point, that was unrealistic. So how does this apply to your goals? Well, first, we want to understand what an unrealistic goal actually is. An unrealistic goal means that it's something you're extremely excited about. Extremely. And to do that, you're probably connecting your extreme passions to the goals that you have. So you're not settling for goals, getting a safe job or going to a school because someone else told you you're supposed to do that, or because you feel like you have to settle and it's something that's easier to achieve. This is something completely different than that. You want to do work that you absolutely love because life is too short. Why not? You don't want to set any limits on what your life could look like, what your goals could be. You want to have awesome relationships. That is a central part of any unrealistic goal and any unrealistic life. And you want to create a life that you're proud of. That is all foundational to setting unrealistic goals and setting them far out there so that what you're working towards is something that lights you up with excitement and passion and fulfillment, and it's something you're proud to wake up to and contribute to the world. Remember when we said we don't want you to feel like you have to wait to go after your unrealistic goals? Well, there's a reason for that. Joseph and I, both looking back at our journey, know that we could have, even though traditional education didn't necessarily want us to, we could have taken bigger risks, devoted more time to it, started earlier, and helped achieve our entrepreneurial journey earlier. We wouldn't change it now because it allows us to help so many more students avoid our path. But there are absolute examples of teenagers doing what most people would consider completely unrealistic. Take Olivia Halsey, for example, who invented a way to test for the Ebola virus that scientists use as the official method today. Or take Mosiah Bridges, who started his own fashion company, got it funded on Shark Tank when he was 12 by Damon John. Very unrealistic by traditional standards. What about Coco Gauff, who beat her mentor, Venus Williams, in Wimbledon at 15 years old? That sounds made up. It sounds impossible, challenging, ridiculous, unrealistic. And my personal favorite, what about Flynn McGarry, a 16-year-old chef who has his own restaurant in New York City, one that sells out months in advance, and to even get in the door, it's $160 a plate. You have to buy a ticket. That's so unrealistic for traditional standards in the way that we teach students to think about their goals and their dreams and their futures. But what's different about these students is not anything that they were born with. They didn't have these gifts that were bestowed upon them that made this path or these achievements so likely. It was just that they said, I'm really excited and interested and passionate about this topic or this field or this sport or about food. I'm gonna start now. I'm gonna start not just dabbling now. I'm gonna really invest my time here. I'm going to try to build some skills. I'm going to really learn and fail and explore this and see if it is a passion and continue on this path until I decide I don't want to do it anymore. And I'm not going to let anyone tell me that I can't do it. And that's how they've achieved such incredible things already at their age. That's how we were able to create a life completely based on something we love, entrepreneurship, connected also to sports and coaching and learning. Our life is based on unrealistic goals, and we want your life to be based on unrealistic goals. So there's two keys to unrealistic goals. How do you set them? First, you need to make sure that your target is big enough. So take any goal that you have, any goal that you're working towards right now or that you've thought about setting. To make it unrealistic, you just increase the target. Make it bigger than you comfortably feel is possible to achieve or likely for you to achieve. The other way to do it, if you feel like the target is already big enough, is to just shorten down that timeline. So if you said, I want to be an entrepreneur by the time I'm 30, well, what's wrong with just saying by the time I'm 25? Yes, that makes you nervous probably, and all of a sudden makes you think, wow, I got to do things differently. I got to start now. I got to figure things out. But it spurs different action than if you were to just say, I'm going to be an entrepreneur by the time I'm 30. Some questions you can ask yourself: if you won the lottery, but you had to keep working, what would you be excited to do for work every single day regardless? Or on the flip side, if you knew you were going to fail, but you were going to love it so much, you didn't care, what does that work look like? How could you earn money directly from your passions and build skills from those passions that people would actually pay you for? How could you design your life if there were no limits? What would an amazing life outside of work in 10 years look like for you? Don't compromise on your lifestyle, on your health, or on your relationships. Relationships are a central part of an unrealistic life and unrealistic goals. To make sure you're setting unrealistic goals, there's a test that I want you to run by any goal that you have now or that you set in the future. The first one is, do you get that feeling in your gut? It's that feeling, if you've ever been down a roller coaster or you're trying something new, where you get that feeling in the pit of your stomach where you know you're a little nervous or you're doing something you've never done before. If you have that feeling when you're thinking about and writing down your goal because you know it's something that's going to be really hard to achieve, something you've never done before that other people have said is impossible, you know you're on the right track. That's part one of the test. The second part of the test is your excitement at 10 out of 10. When you imagine yourself accomplishing that goal and basing your life around some of these work and lifestyle and relationship goals, is your excitement a 10 out of 10? If it's not, you need to rework it and challenge yourself more so that these goals are a 10 out of 10. We wouldn't feel comfortable telling you to set unrealistic goals and coaching you on how to do it if, even though we have all these examples of teens doing it, of Thomas Edison and the Wright brothers, and there's countless other examples you can think of today doing it, we wouldn't feel comfortable telling you about it if we ourselves weren't able to achieve our own unrealistic goals. It required us to ignore the naysayers. It required us to go through so many difficult obstacles that we could never have anticipated, and that really challenged our will and our desire to actually stick with it and achieve these unrealistic goals. But because it was unrealistic for us, because we had this incredibly strong, unshakable motivation to base our lives around becoming entrepreneurs and helping other people create a similar path for themselves, we were able to overcome those obstacles, stick it out, be patient for the time that it took, and eventually create the results that we ultimately dreamed of. So when you're thinking about yourself, and if you ever have any doubt that you can't achieve unrealistic goals, I want you to remember this. Don't be afraid to dream big. Don't be afraid to take a chance on yourself. Don't be afraid to be different. And don't be afraid to fail. Failure is a necessary part of the journey. We can't get around it. And even if we ultimately fail, even if we never reach our ultimate unrealistic goal, you can go by this quote from incredible movie director James Cameron, who said that if you set your goals ridiculously high, unrealistic, and it's a failure, you will fail above everyone else's success because you were willing to think so much bigger and more exciting than everyone else. And that's why you should set unrealistic goals.